Welcome to the 17th episode of the Nordic Sports News Podcast, the world's first cross-country ski and biathlon podcast, with daily news from around the globe. Today, we start our news with the health scandal of fluorinated waxes. The French journalists of L'Equipe published a new survey, called Fear on the Glide, concerning the serious dangers of fluor on the environment and the human body. You who are passionate about skiing and biathlon already know the problems caused by the use of fluor, a substance that was essential for improving gliding for several decades. But fluor is above all harmful, dangerous for those who handle it often and dangerous also for the environment. The European Commission has asked for its ban. The international ski and biathlon federations will follow from next season. In the meantime, the journalists from L'Equipe have gone back to the origin of this scandal and unveil, in a detailed and comprehensive account, the underside of an unnatural alliance between the ski industry and the petrochemical industry. It is a health scandal that affects several hundred, even thousands of people. Since the late 1980s, this product has made cross-country skiers addicted to it. It helps glide and saves precious seconds for those who wax their skis with it. Far from the tracks, chemists are better acquainted with this fluor under the name of perfluorinated substances, or under the acronym PFAS. These same chemists also know that it is a so-called eternal poison that permanently contaminates humans, the environment, and all living things. Several French wax techs, including former members of the French ski teams, have agreed to testify and say they are seriously affected by the substance. Doctors and toxicologists believe that all those who waxed while using this substance, or attended ski preparation workshops without significant protection, put their physical integrity at risk. Several chilling testimonies accompany this investigation, and all describe the serious dangers of fluor which have led to cancer, death or stroke. One testimony recalls, "We were applying fluoride under the skis in a room with windows and shutters tightly closed so no one could see us. We didn't want to open the windows and we were testing a lot of different products." One of the former colleagues adds, "We didn't count the hours we spent in hotel basements waxing dozens of pairs of skis without ventilation. It was as if we were in a garage with the engine running, spending hours there. A few months before the incident, I said to my Norwegian colleague, 'We will die because of this.' Sometime after I had a stroke, I had to learn to read again, and it was not easy." Of course, this practice did not concern only France but all the strong nations of cross-country skiing and biathlon like Italy. I saw how much faster his skis got when he started using fluor powder. It was crazy. Back then, no one thought it could be dangerous. Everyone applied fluor without using masks or protective equipment, and it lasted at least 10 years, explains Gianluca Macrolini, a technician who worked with the Bo brothers, Belmondo and Colonia. Fortunately, since the early 1990s, teams have gradually become aware of the dangers of fluor. Little by little, the mask became compulsory, as did ventilation. And today technicians from the best nations can work in sanitary conditions that have nothing to do with those of their former colleagues, but what about small nations and amateurs? The next ban on fluorinated waxes, which has been postponed several times, will finally come in at the start of next season. Now, on our second news of the day, we talk about the highest paid cross-country skier in Finland, Iivo Niskanen. Last year, according to the Finnish tax administration, Iivo Niskanen saw its income drop sharply. Niskanen's income, the Finnish cross-country ski star, reached €98.687. In sporting terms, he has not had his best season. He notably left the Nordic Skiing World Championships in Oberstdorf, Germany, empty-handed. Finland returned to the country with a silver medal, but Risto-Matti Hakola and Joni Mäki are far behind their teammate, according to the latest tax data mentioned in the columns of Iltalehti. Hakola earned €67.975 and Mäki, only, €15.203. With €63.676, Krista Parmakoski is in between. Far behind, we find Rita-Liisa Raponen, €4.150, and Joanna Madantalo, €3.222. Jasmi Joensuu has not declared any taxable income. Finland's two biggest earners, however, had to tighten their belts. A year earlier, Niskanen's income was over €192,000, and Parmakoski's was almost €80,000. The reason for the drop is probably the lack of World Cup races due to the pandemic, analyzes HS. These amounts do not take into account public subsidies. The allowance paid by the Finnish government is not taxable. Hakola, Harala and Niskanen received €20,000 from the Ministry of Education and Culture in May 2020, and Madantalo and Mäki €10,000. It should also be noted that certain athletes have simultaneously created companies. The turnover of that of Ivo Niskanen amounted to $260,000 between November 1, 2017 and December 31, 2018. Krista Parmakoski also founded Krista Parmakoski Oy in 2018. In Finland, the highest paid athlete is Brian O'Neill, an American professional ice hockey player who earned €564.480 last year. On our third news of the day, we talk about biathlete Ingela Andersson. Left to live in Norway to continue her career, the 30-year-old Swedish dreams of a future participation in the Olympics. Ingela is not really new to the discipline. She made her debut on the junior circuit 10 years ago before joining the Swedish team. But she never managed to convince in her country, spending most of the time on the IBU Cup circuit, with 3 victories and a few podiums. Andersson still has 3 World Cup appearances, that was 5 years ago. Since then, without the financial guarantees provided by a place in the national team, she has chosen to go to Norway to join Team Holmenkollen Biathlon and benefit from good training conditions. We are a good team with a lot of youngsters, especially boys. It is important for me to be able to face them in training to know where I am. Here at Holmenkollen, we have the chance to be able to exchange with famous coaches like Sondre Sundby, Ragnar Bragvin Andersson and Mart Bjørgen, and it is very useful to improve my technique, Andersson told Langren. Only 17th overall in the IBU Cup last season, despite being in good physical condition, the pandemic confinement context did not suit me. Ingela Andersson is aiming much higher this winter. I dream of qualifying for the Olympics. I will have to shine in the IBU Cup in December to reach the World Cup in January and then get my ticket. She concludes. Coming back to the World Cup 6 years after her last participation, then becoming one of the 5 Swedish women selected for the Olympics, knowing that with equal performance, a younger one will be chosen, it will be a very difficult but not impossible challenge. Now, in our fourth news of the day, we talk about long-distance skiing. This winter, the members of Féclaz formation long distance will have to watch both on long distances and on the Samsø National Tour and Opa Cup circuits. And why not in the World Cup? Set up in spring 2020, the Féclaz formation long distance, FFLD, a structure bringing together around 20 cross-country skiers wishing to practice their sport at a high level in parallel with their studies, will enter its second winter in a few weeks. We have passed a small milestone in terms of level density, it creates a superb emulation, explains Marc Dessous La Féclaz, Savoie, Sport Club Director, to Nordic magazine. I retain the homogeneity of this group, confirms Thomas Chamberlain, assistant coach. In this tema, there are experienced cross-country skiers like Charlie Rousset, Quentin Joly, Solène Favre, Mathieu Golabre, Florian Perez, and Ocean Bipoix, as well as other younger skiers. A mixture seemed to work well, as the results obtained this summer during the roller ski races were convincing. In recent months, the pace has followed that launched in early summer with a week of training camp every month. In October, for example, we had a good camp at the Planstadtons, said Pierre Billingeri, the team coach. Du Beast's races followed by a long course of 13 days on the Snøtene Glacier. The peculiarity is that we shared it with the U19s of the La Féclaz Club, which Thomas Chamberlain takes care of. At the end of the day, the whole group was together because we shared a speed session with the Nordic experience team, recalls Pierre Billingeri. The young skiers came home with stars in their eyes, said Marc Dessous, supplemented by Thomas Chamberlain. The idea was to make them dream, so that they could compare themselves to some of the best senior French skiers. This allowed them to have a good sports benchmark. For the U23 skiers, the season will begin on November 26th and 27th during the FFS selections for the Opa Cup in Gams, Switzerland. It is clearly an objective for some, affirms Pierre Billingeri. Then, in December, the Samsø National Tour de Bessons, Savoie, from 10 to 12, and Autrans, Isère, on 29 and 30, will be on the program. For long distances, our benchmark circuit will be the Marathon Ski Tour, which begins shortly after New Year's Day with the Bessons Marathon, explains Pierre Billingeri, who, like Thomas Chamberlain, will be lining up for a few races. But we do not rule out doing 1 or 2 races in Visma Ski Classics or abroad by relying on the Team Nordic experience. The leaders of Féclaz formation long distance do not refrain from anything. We hope to place a few on the World Cup in Pre-Men and where there will be enlarged quotas for France, concludes the Savoyard trainer. And to wrap up our news today, we have the cross-country ski and biathlon program for the week. While we will have to wait a bit longer to watch the comeback of the World Cups, some of the best Nordic athletes on the planet will be putting on a bib during this weekend. Idre Stadium will be the scene for the Swedish biathlon premiere on Saturday and Sunday. The Swedes should be accompanied by the Italians, the Swiss and the Slovaks. In Norway, in Sjursøen, the local biathletes will fight against the French, who arrived there in the middle of last week, and the Czechs, in particular. In cross-country skiing, FIS races will be organized in Muonio, Finland, with the presence of the best Finns but also Russians and Italians Federico Pellegrino and Francesco De Fabiani, and in Vuokatti, Finland. Below the complete program for the Nordic week. Friday, November 12, 2021. 9 a.m., cross-country skiing, Muonio, Finland, Sprint Classic, men and women Saturday, November 13, 2021. 9 a.m., cross-country skiing, Muonio, Finland, individual 10-15 km classic, women and men. 9:15 a.m., Biathlon, Swedish Premier, Idre, Sweden, men's sprint. 10 a.m., cross-country skiing, Vuokatti, Finland, individual 9-15 km freestyle, women and men. 11:15 a.m., Biathlon, Swedish Premier, Idre, Sweden, women's sprint. 11:40 a.m., Biathlon, Norwegian Premier, Sjøen, Norway, women's sprint. 1:45 p.m., Biathlon, Norwegian Premier, Sjøen, Norway, men's sprint. Sunday, November 14, 2021. 8:30 a.m., cross-country skiing, Vuokatti, Finland, Sprint Classic, men and women. 9 a.m., cross-country skiing, Muonio, Finland, individual 10-15 km freestyle, women and men. 9:30 a.m., Biathlon, Swedish Premier, Idre, Sweden, men's short individual. 10:45 a.m., Biathlon, Norwegian Premier, Sjøen, Norway, mass start B men. 11:40 a.m., Biathlon, Swedish Premier, Idre, Sweden, women's short individual. 12:30 p.m., Biathlon, Norwegian Premier, Sjøen, Norway, women's mass start. 2:15 p.m., Biathlon, Norwegian Premier, Sjøen, Norway, mass start amen. And that's all for today, folks. Stay tuned and subscribe to our channels on YouTube, Spotify and Instagram. Just type Nordic Sports News on these platforms and access our content. Thank you so much and see you tomorrow in the next episode. Information credits for Ski Nordic, Nordic Mag, L'Equipe, Iltalady, HS and Langren.